Hello and welcome back to the OTB channel. Today, with some trepidation, and I'm not entirely sure I'm doing the right thing here, I'm going to look at what I can only describe as a Windows clone, or rather a Linux distribution with Windows clothing on. Let's have a chat after the intro. Okay, welcome back. Well, what a week. As many of you know, it's been a tough few weeks for me personally with ill health happening with a close family member, which has all culminated in this week in this horrible virus also being caught by that particular family member when they were in hospital. So yeah, it's not been the greatest time. So I'm not in the best mood for a review, and I was thinking about what to do, and you know me, I always try and give a balanced view of whatever I'm looking at and to try and pull out the positives as well as those things that I'm not that keen on. And I was a little bit concerned today that I might not do justice to a Linux distro that's really trying hard to make it out there. So I thought, well, if you're concerned about that, why not have a quick look at something that you're not too bothered about? And the name of that is LinuxFX or WindowsFX. Depending where you look, it seems to work with dual names. And it's essentially an Ubuntu-based distribution that looks more like Windows 10 than anything I have ever seen. And I saw it a few weeks ago, and somebody pointed it out to me on my Facebook group and said, "Are you going to do a review of this, Steve?" And I said, I'm not keen, really. I don't want to give it too much credence. I may look at it in the future. Well, now seems to be about the greatest time to look at it. And I'm not going to do a full review. I'm going to dip in and dip out. Needless to say, under the surface, it's Ubuntu, it's a Cinnamon desktop, and it's heavily themed, really heavily themed, to the extent that someone who is unfamiliar with Linux could probably see this desktop and be mistaken for thinking it really is Windows 10. And it's really well done. I will give it that. It's really well done. My question really is there a place for such a thing in the Linux ecosphere? And I'm really quite unsure about where I stand on this. I suppose you could argue that on the one hand, if you make a Linux distribution look really like a Windows distribution, it could attract new users from Windows. That's a possibility, I think. It's got a few arguments against it. If they do come across because they think they're using Windows 10, yes, there may be a layer of compatibility through Wine to use Windows programs. It's never going to be as good as it is on Windows. If you're going to be using the Adobe suite or Microsoft Office or something like that. You could say that people might move across because the increased security and, the ease of updating the system is better. Well, yes, it is. But isn't that counterbalanced by you're going to use the functionality of using your Windows programs? And if you want a distribution that looks exactly like Windows 10, why don't you just use Windows 10? I am not an evangelist. I do not think we need to go out there and convince Windows users to use Linux. I've got little or no interest in that. In fact, I was watching a video from Esnix this morning that I think he released yesterday, where he was basically talking about market share and how many reviewers out there seem to be pushing, we've got to increase our market share to bring new Windows users over. And he basically said, well, I couldn't really care less. And I'm afraid I'm in the same camp. Windows is not Linux. It never will be. I'm personally happy about that. I do know Linux has a reputation of being an operating system for geeks. And I'm a geek. I'll be the first to admit it. Having said that, we also have the likes of Linux Mint and all the Ubuntus that have just been released that allow you to install a system and just get on with it if you don't like fiddling and tweaking, which is great. But if you want to run Windows programs and you really, really want to do it, you have to do it. You're wedded to Adobe, you're wedded to Microsoft. Linux probably isn't the best operating system for you. And I don't have a problem with whatever operating system people use. Use the best thing for the job. And if you're going to run Adobe and you're going to run Microsoft Office, Linux probably isn't the best operating system for the job. And if you don't have the mindset to learn a new operating system, will Linux really be for you? I would doubt it. I mean, I know there's some of us that like to tinker, and I'm a tinkerer. I've spent a happy couple of hours this week getting my hardware brightness and volume keys on my ThinkPad working in DWM, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I had a success at the end of the day. But I understand that most people don't want to do that. But there's a difference between just wanting to get on in a distro that leaves you alone, gets out of your way, and just lets you work, to somebody who just wants an exact replica of Windows. I'm probably not saying this correct. Here we are. Let me take my hat off. I'm bald. I know DT has been questioned about, why he shaves his head, and he's saying DT is not bald. OTB is very bald. I've got nothing around the middle, and so I shave the back and sides just so I don't end up looking like some mad monk. But I'm bald. I don't have to be bald. I could go out and get a wig. What do they call them? A toupee, a rug, something like that. And in fact, I've got friends who do that, who have got to a certain age. But what are they actually doing? They're using something to imitate what they used to be. It's not real hair. It's never going to be as good or as functional as real hair. It's just real hair it's an imitation. It's a complete imitation. And if they want to do that, that's great. I'll fight for their freedom to do it every day long. Just like I will fight for the right of people to create a distro that looks like whatever you want. But whether or not I would do it or agree with it is a different matter entirely. And I sort of see this thing, LinuxFX or WindowsFX, if you like, as Linux with a Windows wig on. So there, I've said it. So would I use it? I think you know the answer to that. No, I wouldn't. But I can appreciate how it might appeal to some users. Why is the question? I don't think this market share argument really holds up. I don't think it's going to increase our market share. Will it appeal to Windows users? It might appeal to them because they think it's going to operate exactly like Windows 10, but I'm sure it'll end up disappointing them. Would you use it because you're just impressed that Linux can be customized to such an extent, and it's an exercise in what you can do? Well, actually, I think that's probably the best reason for using it, that you just want to see what can actually be done. But even having said that, why would you want to get something like that out of the box? Surely you'd be better off installing Linux Mint Cinnamon and customizing it and theming it yourself. I know that the likes of English Bob has done that. But anyway, little bit of a rant, and I apologise. I don't like normally to start my distro look-sees on a negative angle, but I'm really struggling to see the point of this distro. But anyway, let's move over to their website and have a look. So here we are. You can see the website here. LinuxFX it's called here. And as you can see, the whole website is very Windows-like. We even refer to things such as a control panel. It's a Brazilian distro. And here there seems to be a mismatch. The operating system is called Windows 10.7 Plasma, and yet the website is called LinuxFX. I mean, what is it? Is it Windows FX or is it Linux FX? And if we move over to the main page, Windows FX 10.7 Cinnamon and Plasma Edition. So you can choose and you can download the version that you want. When you download it though, or when you go to download, you'll find that there's a Founders Edition, which costs. Pay as much as you want, but it won't let you get away with sticking 0 in there. Believe me, I've tried. And what you get for your extra money? Well, the Helloa virtual assistant, which is a little bit like the thing in Windows. All WX desktop features. Okay, full support for Microsoft Active Directory and workgroups. Integration with smarter home, i.e. Google Home, Arduino, etc. Latest build of the system core. Improved support for Microsoft Windows applications, so you read wine there. Support for games developed for Microsoft. Well, it's Steam, Lutris. Advanced support for VDI. And you have the option. You can either have a Cinnamon version or a Plasma version, which I presume are going to be very similar in look and feel. They're both kind of a 4+ gig download. Apparently for the Plasma you need a quad-core processor, or that's what's recommended. But for Cinnamon, just a dual core. 2 gig of RAM minimum, 16 gig disk, 4 gig of RAM minimum, and a 16 gig disk for Plasma. Right, or you can download the free edition, which is what I have done. They don't actually have a link here to the free edition, so you either have to go onto their Telegram group and get it, or just do a Google search. You'll find it on SourceForge, and that's essentially what I've done. So Windows FX 10.7 or Linux FX, I'm not sure, whatever it is. Anyway, you get the general idea. So let's fire it up and let's have a quick look. Now, I'm not going to show you the installation because it's basically Ubuntu under the hood. And is it a big Ubiquity that they use? Anyway, it's a next installation, so it's fairly straightforward. It's got a nice little screen resolution app that launches when you run the live ISO, and it booted into full screen, full HD. And as you can see, I've installed it and I've just rebooted, and again we're on full HD. And again, ignore this annoying little white line just to the right, something to do with DWM. I will figure it out. But be in no doubt, what you're seeing in front of you here is well, Windows. It looks like Windows. So let's just log in and see what we get. I've not had a proper look around it at all yet, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to expect. Okay, well, there was a bit of a delay there, and I just paused it and pulled it out of full screen mode, and then basically this is what greeted me. So we've got the little screen thing here. What do we want? 1920 by 1080. Yeah, so I'm all good. I'll just click apply on that and keep that configuration. Check your video drivers. Oh, hello. Yeah, I've got my audio off, but you can see we've got this virtual assistant who's coming up and trying to talk to us. I was created to help you. Well, I tell you what, when I use Windows at work, I disable this thing and or the Windows version of it. But it's clever. You know, it's clever. Online accounts. No, thank you. I'm going to shut that down. In order for me to listen to you, you need to connect with me through your Google account. Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's not. Let's just shut you down. For a complete operation, it's necessary to restart the system. Let's just uncheck lower startup options. Please just don't start. And let's just shut you down. Yeah. Okay, and now shut down. Thank you. Let's launch the driver manager and see what happens. Password. Right, okay. And we've got, I see the Windows sort of lock screen. Oh. Well, it decided to reboot. Just as I was starting to log in to do that. Well, you can see what it looks like rebooting. It's Windows 10, isn't it? My goodness. So I don't know why it just decided to reboot on me there, but clearly it didn't like what I was doing, or it was installing something. Let's see what happens. I'll just pause this and come back once we're in. Okay, we're back into the login screen, so let's try again, and hopefully that virtual assistant doesn't launch this time. And here we are. What are we getting now? Windows Y mode. Intention. In order for Microsoft Windows applications to work correctly, it's necessary to install the EXE and MSI program compatibility mode. Warning, installation of compatibility mode can take a long time. The factors that, you know, I'm just going to cancel that. Let's check our drivers and see what it comes up with. And let's hope it doesn't reboot this time. I'm presuming we're just going to get the standard Ubuntu driver manager here, albeit in a theme that makes it look very much like we're running Windows. I have to say, I mean, first look, it's pretty clean. It really is pretty clean, and they've done a good job, and they've put an awful lot of work into this. It looks so Windows-like, even looking at the icons on the desktop here, that you wouldn't know that you weren't running Windows. Okay, so much for that. No proprietary drivers are in use. Okay, let's come out of that. So what do we got? Computer. Let's have a look and just open up the various icons and see what happens. So, okay. What file manager are we using here? Let's go to About. It's Nemo. Okay, at least they've kept some of the Linux names. So VBox CD-ROM, VBox hard disk and file system. Right, and you can see all the way down to the icons. It's been attention to detail here. If I go into my home directory, yeah, again, it's Windows 10, isn't it? It's Windows 10. I have to say, I don't quite know where distros like this stand on using what are very obviously Microsoft icons. I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft didn't have a case for taking them to court, but they don't seem to be that concerned anymore with that sort of thing. System properties. Let's open that. And wow, that looks exactly like the system, the system dialog you get from Windows Control Panel. And yeah, it's Windows is activated. Really? WindowsFX is activated. Change product key. I wonder if they actually serial of this computer. So I can't see the point of that. It's just in order to clone it. Let's have a look and see what's in Device Manager. Right, okay. And let's have a quick look. It's hard info. Yeah, I thought it might be. The module information there. Fine. No problem with that. System protection. I'm pretty stunned at how this looks, actually. You can undo changes to the system by reverting your computer to a previous restore point. Performance. Let's see what it opens up. Right, so we're back into the likes of Cinnamon there. User profiles, information on system startup, system failure and debugging. Right, okay, so there's your startup applications. In fact, let me just open that again. I want to see what sort of things they have starting up. Bump VirtualBox resolution. You've got quite a few things starting up in the background there. Okay, that's fine. And let's just cancel that. And let's have a look at advanced system settings and see what's there. Oh, that's what we've already brought up. Okay. Right, let's just close that down. WindowsFX version register. So what's this? I mean, this is the free version, so I presume they're not going to ask me to... in fact, does this even work? Oh yeah, something's happening now. Obtain a license, enter an email when purchasing a license. Right, okay, fine. Let's have a look at what they've got installed. Right. So, yeah, I quite like the menu. You've got your accessories. Redshift is there. Visual Studio Code, Warpinator, Wine Tricks, Midnight Commander Editor. That seems a little bit strange, actually, to have something like that. But, okay. I wouldn't have imagined that would be there. Oops. It's not quite as smooth as I'd expect. They've got the GIMP, Inkscape, and Pix. You've got Google Chrome, Firefox, Skype, TeamViewer, Telegram, Transmission, and Zoom. Well, I'm pretty sure it hasn't got Word, PowerPoint, and Excel installed, but let's just open up Word and see what we get. It doesn't feel that snappy, and I've given this 8 gig of RAM. It feels like something that needs a little bit more. I appreciate that we're running it in a virtual machine, but it's only Office. I can already see it's only Office. Right. And only Office doesn't seem to be working properly. Let's just shut that down. Well, nothing's happening there. Oh, right, okay. Let's try another of the Office programs. Let's try Excel. It doesn't seem to be working. Oh, here we go. It's getting on and doing what it needs to do. Well, I don't know what Only Office is like. I've not used it before, but it took forever to actually load. And calling it Word and Excel, I'm really not a fan of that. What's in the Office Center? Okay, it's just your kind of launcher page. That's fine. What have we got in programming? Visual Studio Code. Then in sound and video, Audacity, Brazera, install multimedia codecs, Kodi, OBS Studio, Simple Screen Recorder, Spotify, VLC. Okay, it's got a reasonable collection of apps. Windows apps. I see Notepad is already installed. Does that actually launch? Yes, it does. Okay. What else? Admin. What have we got in admin? Android file transfer. Time shift. I wonder if they've got a firewall installed. Let's just do a search for firewall. Firewall configuration. I wonder if this is UFW. We'll soon see. And we wait. It's UFW. Of course it is. And it isn't on. Right, I would have thought they would have enabled that out of the box. So, you've got what you've got. We've got something there to log out. We can lock the screen. We can launch a terminal from here. And what have we got as the terminal? Gnome Terminal. Okay, so that is what it is. I wonder if we've got Synaptic. We have got Synaptic. Always an option I like to see. I want to see what the repos are, to be honest. So let's just maximize that. And let's go to the repositories and see what they've got. Right, Linux Mint and Ubuntu. That's interesting. Well, packages from linuxmint.com, packages from the base. So it's a bit of a mix by the look of this. What about PPAs? There's a few PPAs there, additional repositories. Right, okay, quite a few. Beyond Trust, Etcher, Google, Microsoft Stable, OnlyOffice, Skype, Steam, TeamViewer. Right, okay, so official repository. So that's a bit of a weird one, really. So you've got some packages from Linux Mint and some packages from Ubuntu by the looks of it. We're just going to cancel that and shut it down. I'm really not too concerned with the underpinnings here. Software Manager Mint install. Right, so is it based on Linux Mint now? Maybe it is, maybe they've moved over. I'm not entirely sure. I think there's been quite a few versions over the last 4 or 5 months. So, who knows what they're on now? What have we got down here? Well, that's doing what it's doing. Okay, so that's just your standard software store. So we've got presumably CPU usage there. London, United Kingdom. AnyDesk. I don't know what AnyDesk is. I've just clicked it with my left click. New connection. Let's see if we can figure this one out. Nope, nothing's coming up. Okay. Some system reports require your attention, apparently. Well, that's gone now. Welcome to the update manager. Oh, here we are. AnyDesk has finally moved or opened, and our system reports is open. It's really sluggish. As I say, we have actually got 8 gig of RAM on this virtual machine, so I would have expected a bit more than that. I've no idea what that is. Something to do with remote access, I would imagine. And we've got a system there to install multimedia codecs. Okay, it's very user-friendly. What else have we got? Yeah, connected to the wired network. I'm presuming that is a version of Network Manager. Yeah, it is. It is. Sound settings. Is this pulse audio that I'm going to bring up? Yeah, basically in different clothing. Fully charged battery. Okay, all good. And then, of course, you have this thing. Well, I've turned audio off, so this isn't going to work. So, okay, exit. Hello. Look, you can see what this is. It's Linux, Ubuntu / Linux Mint based, probably a mix of the two. It's heavily themed to look like Windows 10. It's been very well done. I'm finding it a little bit sluggish, but I'm on a virtual machine. I'll be honest, I've seen enough. Let's go and have a chat. So that's LinuxFX or WindowsFX, whatever it's called. Well, I said I'd look at it, and I've looked at it, and I've come away, and I don't think I'll be looking at it again. That's not to say I don't think it's been very well done. I think the guys who have put it together have spent a long time really trying to get it to look exactly like Windows 10. But ultimately, it's Linux in Windows clothing. It's Linux with a wig on. And I'm struggling to see the point. As a quirk, as an example of what you can do in terms of theming, absolutely great. What is its purpose other than that? Is it about getting Windows users over? Possibly it is. I don't think it'll work. What I would say to you is if you want to take a look at it and, just to see what it does, great. But if you're really wedded that much to Windows 10, just install Windows 10. I never thought I'd find myself saying that to anybody on this channel, but if you don't want to run Linux, run Windows 10. It's fine. Guys, I'm going to call it a day now. I hope you found this interesting. I'm sorry I'm not on top form today. I'm struggling a little bit. I'd just like to say thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed the video. Come and join us on Library by all means, and the Facebook group. I've not been that active there for the last week or two. You can probably understand why. And I'd like to say a big thank you to my Patreons, of course, Corbinian Schilderman, Robert Boudreau, Gary Moore, Aristotelis Papa Giorgio, Stormpick, Stephen Cross, Mike Long, David Bird, Entropy UK, Richard Wade, Ty Gare, Philip Espy, Forrest Rhodes, Scott Russell and Patrick Dano. Thanks, guys. You've allowed me to set up this studio as I've got it so far. I've got a bit of lighting in now, but it's still not right. I've got a couple of LEDs now, bigger LEDs. My next thing will be replacing this little X260, which is driving the whole thing, with my 440p, which once I get a minute, I'm going to be doing some work on that. So I'll probably share that with you in a video. But for now, guys, have a great weekend, and see you next week.